don't mess around. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's get started.
Yeah. Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of A Dash of Sports, episode 18. I'll be your host and presenter, Dashiki Dash, and on this show is where I talk about all things sports related, hot topics, and trending stories. And if you like the previous episodes, hey, come on, you know what to do by now. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. Also, don't forget to press the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And on today's show, I'm going to be asking the question and exploring how women's sports has been coping during this coronavirus pandemic. As we've seen lately, a load of male-dominated sports has been making its comeback, but very little when it comes to the women. So now, what does the future hold for women's sports? Fortunately, there's been a few sporting restarts within women's sports, being it boxing or MMA. And speaking of boxing, I'm going to be looking at last week's results from week 3 of the Matchroom fight camp, especially the fight between Shannon Courtney and Rachel Ball, and many other fights on that night as well. And also I'm going to be giving you the rundown for the fight card for week 4, especially the main event, Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin, and not to forget Katie Taylor versus Delphine Persoon. It's going to be an epic night of boxing as we make it to week 4 of the Matchroom fight camp. And moving on to some football. Could it be true what I'm hearing? As rumour has it that one of the GOATs of football, Lionel Messi, could actually be leaving Barcelona as early as this summer. Now the amazing thing is he can actually leave on a free. I'm not too sure on who's going to be able to handle his wages, but I'm going to let you know who I think, or which teams I think is going to be able to afford him. And then I'm going to round it off with the Champions League and Europa League results as both Manchester teams crash out of Europe. And now we're hearing that the rest of the European teams are just dissing and laughing at the Premier League. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. But hey, more to be discussed on A Dash of Sports. So if you didn't know by now, women's sports has been heavily affected across the world by the coronavirus, more so than their male counterparts. I'm talking about football, rugby, netball, major cycling, and many others that's either been cancelled or postponed due to the crisis. Now, it was always going to be a risk in terms of cancelling and postponing women's sports, which is no different to the men's because they also had to go in under lockdown and postpone or either cancel certain sports. But what we're now currently seeing is the lack of, like commitment to restart and revive set sports. So if you see the men's, like football's back, motor racing's back, snooker, horse riding, cricket, everything is pretty much back. But when it comes to the women, there's still a load of sports still struggling to make their comeback. And the longer this goes on, it's just more of a risk for certain sports going into, or organizations, clubs, centers, going into administration and having to actually close down for good. Then you're thinking to yourself, all the hard work that's been put into making sure that women have the equal amount of rights and opportunities to be able to participate in sports. You're thinking about the younger generation of young girls coming up and being inspired by, amazing athletes, amazing sportswomen across the world, and they're not going to get the opportunity to be able to, see their favorite stars due to the fact that there isn't enough effort. I think that's the best way I can describe it. Then there isn't enough effort in terms of really pushing for football to be back, rugby, netball, all these sports. What's going on? And then you got the likes of West Ham women's captain Gilly Flaherty, who turned around in a Sky Sports interview that I was watching one time, and she said, and I remember this, she was saying, if I was a man, I would have nothing to be worried about. Like, actually just think about it, just deep what she just said. Like, if she was a man, she would have nothing to be worried about. That's deep, because you're doing the same thing, essentially. You're doing the same thing, it's just separated by gender. But you're doing the same thing, whether you play football, whatever sports it is. But as soon as everything got cancelled or postponed, as a woman, you'd be sitting there thinking, rah, this could be the last time I'm playing this game, this match. But for men, that thought process is not coming into their heads. They're just thinking, well, we're just going to be waiting because we know the Premier League is going to be back. We know that boxing, MMA is going to be back, you know. And it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy to think, but this is the reality about women in the world today. Like I keep saying, the lack of commitment and just, listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Effort. It just boils down to it, because the same energy and same effort that you're putting into the men's game, you should be doing that for the women's game as well. Now, I do understand, and forgive me because I'm not gonna know the ins and outs in terms of the financial aspects and what the money's looking like. Clearly, there's an issue in regards to money, whether it's male or female sports. The men's game is obviously getting more money, but then you're thinking to yourself, if they are getting more money, can some of that money be able to trickle down to help the women's game, help to revive and restart certain sports? Because it's needed. It is really needed. Now, like I said, you know, I'm not going to know the ins and outs of the financial implications, but one thing that I do know for sure is the commercial side in the women's game, women's sports is, you know, it is competing with the men's nowadays. If we just even look at the World Cup, the last World Cup, the Women's World Cup that went by, in recent years, in terms of the Euros and the World Cup for the men's, it has rivaled it. There's been a lot of attention, and I feel that the women's game, or women's sports in general, will get a load of attention because, let's just say, for example, not everybody likes watching football, or you're not going to get just the casual person watching boxing or anything like that, but the casual sports fan or sports person will tune into women's sports because, I don't know, there's just a, I don't know, for me personally, it's just like a pureness to the sports. There's like, if you watch football, women's football as well, and you compare it to the men's game, there's less theatrics, there's less bravado, just getting on with the game. And a lot of people like that. They like the pureness of it. They don't like the whole, you know, the way the Premier League is and everything like that. So the commercial side of things, as sports, women's sports is growing, you can work on that, you can push it. I don't know. It's just sad to see this, and I just hope, I very much hope so, that it gets to a point where we're not seeing any sports within the women's game being either going into administration or having to lock off completely, because that would be a great shame. So my message is, like, let's not sleep on women's sports, because when you actually think about it, we are very much invested. The likes of Shirley Ann Fraser-Price, we're tuned in to see one of the fastest women in the world do her thing. We're tuned in to Team GB's 4x4 relay races with the likes of Desiree Henry, Daryl Nita, Dina Asher Smith, Asher Phillip. Then I can go into tennis and talk about the queen herself, Serena Williams. MMA, you got Chris Cyborg, you got Amanda Nunes. And then you got women's boxing, you got the likes of Clarissa Shields, you got Katie Taylor. And there's so many absolutely amazing athletes within women's sports. And I know that I've missed out loads of names, so please forgive me. But hey, like, that in itself shows you the commercial aspect, the potential commercial aspect that women's sports has. And if it could just be worked on a little bit more, the effort to really push women's sports to the forefront. If we can do that, and then you're going to see in the future that women's sports is not going to be dependent on anything. It's just going to be standalone on its own 2 feet, outright by itself, be able to sustain and be able to restart just like the men's game, because it's got the commercial aspect, because from that will generate the money that is needed. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, because I really need to see your input and your comments regarding all of this. Sport is sport, whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter. I've seen some dope female footballers. Equally, I've seen some real crap male footballers. But for some reason, when it comes to men and women, the men always get the support and the push and the commitment that is needed to sustain all of these different types of sports. And the women need the same help. We cannot be in a position where you're hearing that women are worried about ever playing or participating. Nah, it can't happen. So let me know. Put your comments down below. Any suggestions you can give in regards to ideas on how to save women's sports. And speaking of female participation in sports, it's actually really good to see the women making their comeback via MMA, boxing. And speaking of boxing, Matchroom Fight Camp Week 3 served up another epic fight between Shannon Courtney and Rachel Ball. Now I'm going to be giving you the results from last week's fights, but that fight in particular, it didn't disappoint. One of the standout fights of the evening. So the first fight was between John Doherty and Anthony Fox. John Doherty became only the second man to stop the tough and game Anthony Fox in the evening's opening bout at Matchroom Fight Camp. John Doherty extended his unbeaten record to 9 wins with an impressive 7th round stoppage, the 7th knockout of his professional career. The 22-year-old benefited from a debatable knockdown in the 3rd round, but then pounded Fox to the canvas in the 7th before a follow-up assault forced the finish. Now, like I've been saying throughout the weeks, each fight has not disappointed, and this one, being the first of the night, literally set the tone, lit the paper, and we were off from then. And then the next fight was between Kieran Conway versus Navid Mansouri. Conway overcame a spirited start from Mansouri to seal a wide points victory and claim the vacant WBA Intercontinental Super Welterweight title, the first belt of his professional career. Conway, aka 2 Class, gradually took command, nearly stopping Mansouri with a 7th round onslaught, but had to settle for a unanimous points win with the scores of 99-92, 98-92 and 98-92. The win keeps Northampton's Conway in contention of further domestic showdowns in a red-hot super welterweight division that contains the likes of Ted Cheeseman, Anthony Fowler and Scott Fitzgerald. And the next fight of the evening was one of my personal favourites between Shannon Courtney and Rachel Ball. Shannon Courtney's unbeaten record was shattered as she was floored and defeated on points by Rachel Ball. The 27-year-old babyface assassin hit the canvas heavily in the opening round, and Courtney's spirited response wasn't enough, with Ball digging deep to claim victory with a 77-75 margin. Now, I've been really impressed with all the females that have been fighting, and this is what I was saying, like, you know, we got to make sure that we understand that the women also have their draw, also have their fans that want to see them fight, want to see them compete. So I'm so glad that Eddie Hearn, Matchroom have been able to set this fight camp up to give us the opportunities to see the women back in the ring, doing what they love, doing what they like doing. Now, I know I said that Shannon Courtney and Rachel Ball was one of my favourites, but this one is definitely up there as well. The next fight was between Zelfa Barrett versus Eric Donovan. Barrett dug deep to produce a clinical 8th round KO against Ireland's Eric Donovan, earning him the vacant IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight title. Manchester's Barrett exploded into life following a sluggish start to inflict a huge one-punch knockout on Eric Donovan on his Matchroom boxing debut. Now, these were some real short, like when I say short, the power that Zelfa Barrett holds is absolutely crazy, because that short left hook that he was giving him, there ain't nobody recovering from that. Wicked fight. I really enjoyed it. And then finishing off with the main event that had a bit of drama to it and still did not disappoint, Felix Cash versus Jason Wellborn, as Cash clinically broke Wellborn's resistance in the 5th round to retain his Commonwealth middleweight title. The unbeaten 27-year-old produced a ferocious response after losing a point for a low blow, flooring Wellborn twice before the fight was waved off, and the undefeated Wokingham talent will now look to push on towards more title action. So if you've been keeping up and you've been watching, let me know which of those fights from week 3 were the highlights of the night. Was there any particular fight that you liked? Was there any particular fight you didn't like? Let me know, man. Put your comments below. So that's last week's fights done and dusted. Week 3 done and dusted. And now we move on to week 4, which is being considered the Matchroom Fight Camp's main event week. Reason being, you got the likes of Dillian White versus Alexander Povetkin. And I tell you what, I cannot wait for that fight. The battle of the left hook. Who's going to come out on top? Well, before we get to that fight, there's going to be some real tasty matches that's going to be served up beforehand. Starting off with Alan Babbage versus Shondell Winters, followed by Jack Cullen versus Zach Chelly. And we also got Luther Clay versus Chris Kongo for the WBO Global Welterweight Championship, which I will mark that as one of the fights of the evening. Then we've got the pre-main event between Katie Taylor and Delphine Persoon for the Undisputed Lightweight Championship. And then the main event itself, Dillian White versus Alexander Povetkin. And for me, this is pretty much the eliminator for the WBC #1 contendership. Whoever wins this pretty much will get their title shot, which will be unfair for Dillian White. But at the end of the day, he's got the perfect opportunity to set things right and put himself in a position where it's undisputed. Like, nobody can question his #1 contender spot. So hopefully he can do it. I've got confidence that he's going to do it. But like I said, this is going to be the battle of the left hook. So whoever can bring it out, whoever can connect in the last maybe 3 fights, Dillian White has shown that left hook is lethal. So what I would say to that is, Alexander Povetkin, you best watch out, man. That left hook is going to be about. Now, I'm always going to sound biased when it comes to Dillian White. I know, but I want you guys to let me know as well. Who do you reckon is going to win that fight? Dillian White versus Alexander Povetkin. Who's going to win? Who's going to be the winner of the night? And is there any predictions or anybody that you've seen on the fight card that you feel like, yo, this is the guy I'm rooting for, and you feel like this is the way the fight is going to go? Let me know. Put your notes and your comments below and let me know. And moving on to some football. Messi, 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 Messi. Only days after recording their worst ever loss after losing to Bayern Munich 8-2 in the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals, rumour has it that captain and legend Lionel Messi has asked to leave the club. Now, with the rumours that we're hearing that's coming out of Spain and Barcelona is that Messi wants to leave immediately. He wants to leave this summer and does not want to wait until his contract expires next year, 2021. Messi has been linked with clubs such as Manchester City, Manchester United, Inter Milan and PSG. Now, this is a bit of a crazy one. Like, Messi actually has a roll-on contract. Not many people actually know that. So every summer, he sits down with Barcelona and just basically explains to them what he wants, what he's looking to do. And if he decided that he wanted to leave, he could leave on a free. He doesn't need to pay off the contract. It's absolutely free. Now, that's good news for certain teams. But like I said at the intro, there's going to be a few teams that are going to be able to handle those wages. Now, he's reportedly on around 700,000 per week. Now, the only teams that I can see that will be able to handle those wages is 2 teams out of England and 1 out of France. Manchester City, Man United, and also PSG. Apart from that, I can't really see any teams in Italy going for 700 a week. But this is Messi though. It's going to be tough. My overall thought process with this, he's probably going to, if he decides, because I've heard this before. Like a couple of seasons ago, he was thinking about leaving, and that's when I found out about this roll-on contract that at any point in time or any summer, he can think about leaving. Now, the only team that I can see him going to really and linking up with his old manager, and that's Pep Guardiola. Could you imagine Messi in the Premier League? Could you imagine Messi linking up with KDB, Kevin De Bruyne? But at the same time, probably similar issues. Man City's defense is a bit, I don't know, but it'll be a much younger side in comparison to Barcelona, whose team, when I saw the ages, I was like, wow, this is actually shocking. You've got like, majority of them are like 33 going on. Like, you know, you've got PK 33, Messi 33, Suarez 33, Rakitic like 31. There's a whole load of them that are just Busquets. I think he's like 31, 33, something like that. So there's a whole load of them. It's an aged team. And I think that Messi's just had enough now. But on the other hand, we've seen these kind of things before. Even Ronaldo at one point in time, when he was at Madrid, he was threatening to leave and that he was going to go. But then we found out that he was just working a new contract. So could this be Messi just trying to get himself a final massive contract? Or could he have just been seeing the team losing 8-2 and he just thought to himself, I can't do no more at this club. I just can't do no more. Now their manager Kike Setien literally got sacked after the match. I bet you any money it was on the coach on the way home and Messi was just sitting there on a coach like this. That quick text message and you're out of here. Now we're hearing that Ronald Koeman could be the manager. So in between this time, you never know. Koeman could sit down with Messi and then be like, listen, I'm here now. I'm looking to change the team. I'm looking to build a team around you, trying to get younger players around you, younger legs, fresher legs. But after that 8-2 defeat, maybe it's just too late. Too late to convince him and he's going to be out. But we've seen this before with Messi. With Argentina, he decided to retire and he made his way back. So, I don't know, it's a difficult one. We always associate Messi with Barcelona and the fact that he's a one-man team, one-man club guy. But at 33 years old, maybe he's looking for a challenge. Maybe he's looking for that one last chance to be able to play for another team. So what do you lot think about Messi asking to leave Barcelona? Do you reckon it's true what we're hearing, the rumours, or it's just rumours itself, like hearsay? And if he decides to leave Barcelona, which team do you reckon he's going to end up at? Because like I said, his wages is going to be mad, especially that he's going to go on a free. I could see him even asking about 800 a week, 700 a week. That is a lot of money. But let me know, put your comments down below. Where is Messi going to end up if he decides to leave Barcelona? And then rounding it off with the European results, as both Manchester teams bowed out of Europe, as both teams were the last British hopes for European success. And starting off with the Champions League results, as Atalanta lost 2-1 to a last-minute goal from PSG that sent them through to their first semi-final in the last 20-odd years. I think like 25 years now. With the next quarter-final game, which was a bit of a surprise, with RB Leipzig beating Atletico Madrid 2-1 to go through to their first semi-final. And then the shock defeat of the night. Not too much of a shock that Bayern Munich beat Barcelona, but the scoreline, a heavy defeat as Bayern Munich beat Barcelona 8-2 to push them into the semi-final, which now after that monstrous win against Barcelona puts them as sure favourites to win the title. And another shock in the quarterfinals was Lyon beating Manchester City 3-1. In the game, once again, Pep Guardiola was questioned about his tactics, his team selection. Another failed attempt to make it to a semi-final. And once again, another failed attempt to try and win the Champions League since he last won it with Barcelona. Will Pep Guardiola ever win the Champions League with another team besides Barcelona? I don't know, because yeah, that Barcelona team was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, Messi's free. Hey, this is his chance. A 33-year-old Messi, by the time he gets to probably like be 34, I don't know if he's still got the legs for the Champions League, but who knows. And then moving on to the Europa League semi-final round, which was the same as the quarter-final round in the Champions League, straight knockout. So the winners of these matches will go to the final. And the first game between Sevilla and Manchester United ended 2-1 to Sevilla, with Sevilla scoring their winning goal literally in the last 10 minutes of the game, which sealed Manchester United's fate and dumping them out of the competition. And the next semi-final game was Inter Milan versus Shakhtar Donetsk. Inter Milan being my choice and my favourite to win the Europa League, went on to beat Shakhtar Donetsk 5-0 in an epic statement of real dominance to show that, listen, they're after this trophy. And the likes of Lukaku, Sanchez, Eriksen, Young, all former Premier League players would have had the perfect opportunity to face Man United in the final. That's literally who I wanted the final to be. Inter Milan versus Man United, but unfortunately, United losing in the semi-final. It's now going to be an Inter Milan versus Seville versus Inter Milan Europa League final. But let me know. Put your comments below. Champions League, Europa League, who is going to win the final? Put your comments below and let me know. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it there for today. And if you've made it this far into the show, all I can just say is thank you. Thank you very much for watching another episode of A Dash of Sports. I do truly appreciate your love and support. And if you need further information about future episodes or just your day-to-day sporting updates, please head over to my Instagram page. And I'm also on Twitter, which is A Dash of Sports. I'll put it down below here. And I'll also leave it in my description. And please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please subscribe, share it. And until the next time here on A Dash of Sports, peace.